A lot of retreat launches fall flat because they skip this: a solid launch foundation. You've got the vision, maybe even the venue, but if you're still guessing your way through launch, that's the problem. Posting on Instagram hoping for sales, that's not a strategy. That's a burnout loop. Experienced hosts don't wing it. They map out their plan, set their timeline, and they don't spend the whole launch in a panic. I've helped dozens of retreats go from launch chaos to smooth booking, and it starts before the launch begins. Let's walk through what actually needs to happen before you make the announcement, and why doing this right builds guest trust from the very beginning. When retreat launches feel chaotic, it's usually because the host is thinking of the launch as one big moment. I just need to post it and people will show up. But a calm strategic launch actually has 4 phases, and each phase does something different. And when you do them intentionally and not on the fly, you build trust that leads to signups. Let's break them down. First is the pre-prep phase. This is what happens before you ever say a word about your retreat. And this is where most people trip themselves up. Pre-prep is where you get your back end together. You finalize your pricing, your payment plan, your refund policy. You make sure your FAQ is ready. You test your sales page. You prep your first few socials and emails. This is where you give yourself breathing room, so you're not writing captions the night before or chasing down tech during mid-launch. When you skip this, you end up scrambling, fixing things on the fly, feeling like you're behind. When you do this, you move into your launch feeling grounded. The decisions are made, the systems are ready. You can actually focus on connecting with people and not worrying about broken links. Next is the announce phase. This is where you build energy and get your audience paying attention. You're not asking people to sign up yet, but you are building that curiosity. You can share behind the scene prep, talk about why you're hosting the retreat, show pieces of the venue or the vibe, activate your waitlist if you have one. This is where people start to lean in. And when you skip this, you drop the retreat out of nowhere and then find yourself wondering why no one has signed up. But when you do this, your audience feels like they've been invited into the process. They've had time to get excited, and now they're watching for when that registration opens. And then we move into the open cart phase. This is when registration officially opens. And here's the thing, this phase isn't just about sending one email. You need a plan on how you're going to show up during this period. What you'll need is a steady email plan, not one big, it's open, and that's it. A social plan, how often you'll post, what you'll share, and how you'll keep energy high, and a way to answer guest questions quickly, whether that's through emails, DMs, or even a live Q&A session. When you skip this, guests hesitate. You forget to follow up. People get lost or overwhelmed and drop off. When you do this, the launch feels steady. Your audience feels guided, and people know what to do and when. The final phase is close. This is where urgency actually matters. And this is the phase that people either panic through or neglect completely. You need clear deadlines, final reminders, support for those last-minute questions or objections, a thoughtful close, not just fading out or going silent. When you skip this, people put off signing up. There's no clear reason to act now, and all that energy you built fizzles out. When you do this, you close with confidence. People know exactly when the offer's closing, and you lead them all the way through. Each phase should feel planned and not rushed. When you watch through each one on purpose, you build trust. You keep your energy steady, and you make it easy for guests to say yes. One of the biggest reasons retreat launches feel stressful, the host hasn't actually finished building the offer. They're rushing to post late, but they're still coming up with the key details, like pricing, payment plans, refund policies as they go. That's what creates last-minute scrambling. If you want your launch to feel smooth and steady, you need to fully prepare the offer before you announce. First, get clear on your pricing, your payment plans, and your refund policy. Your guests are going to have questions about this immediately. If you don't know your numbers, if you haven't set deadlines, if you can't confidently answer, what do I need to do if I need to cancel? You're already losing trust. When you sort this out before you launch, you can answer quickly and confidently, and that makes your guests feel safe. Next, create your FAQ document ahead of time. Don't wait for people to start asking you questions in your DMs. Write the answer up front. Your FAQ should cover what's included, what's not included, travel and transportation details, refund and payment policies, and what happens after they register. When you prepare this ahead of time, you'll save yourself a lot of time going back and forth answering the same questions over and over. And have your systems ready to handle questions and special payment requests. Whether it's emails or DMs or your CRM system like Honeybook or Dipsado, you need to know how guests can contact you and how quickly you'll respond. Also, if you're offering custom payment plans, you should know exactly how you'll process them before registration even opens. You don't want to be figuring out Stripe or sending a new invoice template on the day of launch. When you plan these details in advance, it's so much less stressful for you, and your guests can feel the difference. They can tell when the process feels solid, and they can feel when you're thinking of them. Now, your sales page isn't just a place where you drop off pretty pictures and hope that people click. It's where your guests make their decision, and it's where your guests build trust in you. It's where they decide if this is the right retreat for them. And it's where they get answers to questions that they may not even know how to ask. A strong sales page doesn't overwhelm. It guides people towards a yes confidently and calmly. So let's talk about what it actually needs. First, you need to show the transformation. Guests aren't buying an itinerary. They're buying what this retreat will do for them. They're asking, how will this make me feel? What will shift in me if I go? Why does this matter right now? The transformation is what helps guests see themselves in this experience. It's what moves them from, that looks nice, to, I need. When you skip this, the retreat feels like a product. When you nail this, the retreat feels like a solution. This isn't about making wild promises. It's about communicating what this retreat is here to support. Next, you need to share the timeline flow. They're asking, what is the actual date of the event? Where is this? What's the flow of the experience? Will they be in sessions all day? Is there downtime? Are they mostly on their own, or is this a fully guided experience? When your timeline is vague, your guests second guess. When it's clear, they can confidently plan their lives around it, book their travel, ask for time off, and coordinate with family. The agenda gives people structure, and structure builds trust. Then you need to get specific about logistics. This is where you answer the practical questions that guests actually care about. How much does it cost? What's included? What's not included? How does travel work? What happens after I book? When you're unclear about these things, you create hesitation. You force guests to DM you or go searching for the answer, and most people won't do that. They'll just move on. When you get this right, your guests feel prepared. They know what they're saying yes to, and they can make decisions without feeling rushed or confused. And most importantly, your copy needs to sound like you know what you're offering. This isn't just about being clear. It's about sounding like you fully understand the experience you're inviting people to. Confident copy says, I've thought this through. I know who this is for. I've built this with intention. When your copy is shaky or scattered, guests can feel that. They wonder, is this actually for me? Will this deliver what I'm looking for? Am I going to feel out of place? Confident sales pages attract aligned buyers. People who fully understand what they're signing up for and who will be excited to be there. One of the biggest reasons launches feel slow, hosts wait until the registration opens to start talking about it. But here's the truth. Your launch starts before the cart even opens. If you want your launch to feel like momentum and not crickets, you gotta start warming up your audience early. Here's how you do that. Start building energy before you drop the link. Your audience needs time to get curious, to get excited, to start envisioning themselves at your retreat. You can create that experience by sharing behind the scenes prep, telling stories about why you're hosting the retreat, using polls and question boxes to invite conversation, talking about what you're creating without pressuring people to buy, And if you've done a retreat before, showing pictures and experiences and testimonials from previous attendees. This is where you build interest before you ever ask for a commitment. When you skip this, you drop your sales page and then wonder why no one's clicking. When you do this, your audience is already paying attention. They've been watching the story unfold and they're ready for what's coming next. Create a wait list and make it worth it. A wait list isn't just a list. It's a way to invite people in early, to let them know they'll be first in line when registration opens. And the key, you've got to make it feel like it matters. Early access to registration. First dibs on limited spots. Special bonuses or prices for waitlist only guests. A good waitlist makes your cart open feel like people have been waiting for this moment, not just seeing it for the first time. It keeps your launch from falling flat. When you build demand early, you launch with momentum. When you warm people up in advance, your launch doesn't feel like a cold announcement. It feels like the natural next step. People are watching. People are waiting. People feel like they've been part of the journey from the beginning. When you skip this, the launch feels like it's been dropped out of nowhere. When you do this, the energy is there. The trust is there. And you don't have to fight for attention. You've already earned it. Okay, so you got your offer, you built your sales page, and you've started building demand. Now let's make sure you're actually giving yourself the right runway to actually start off well. Because what a lot of hosts do, they set a launch date and then just post when they remember. They don't plan their content. They don't place their timeline. They're scrambling to write emails and captions on the day that it's supposed to go out. That's what makes the launch feel stressful. Your launch runway needs to be mapped out ahead of time. This means deciding what you'll share, when you'll share it, where you'll show up, and what kind of energy you want to bring to each piece. When you plan this early, you don't have to hustle through your launch window. You can focus on conversations, supporting your audience, and moving people towards the retreat, instead of frantically trying to figure out what to say next. A good runway gives you about 3 to 4 weeks of planned visibility. You're not scrambling for content the night before. You're not ghosting your audience and then randomly reappearing to drop the link. You've built in email topics, social posts, behind the scenes stories, voice notes or reels that keep you visible in a calm and steady rhythm. This is the part that saves you during launch week. When you plan your runway on purpose, you launch from a place of calm, not from reactive. You're not fighting for attention, you've already created it. You're not scrambling for content, you've already written it. This is what makes the launch feel smooth, because you made decisions before the pressure hits. And that most people don't think about. When your launch feels chaotic behind the scenes, your guests can feel that. When details are scattered, when things aren't clear, your guests will begin to hesitate. Even if they're interested, even if they love the retreat, if the process feels messy, they start to second guess if you're someone that they can trust to lead them. When key things are missing, guests notice. No payment plans, no clear deadlines, no refund policy, no FAQs. That's when your guests start to lose confidence. They're thinking, if this launch feels scattered, is the retreat going to feel the same way? Can I trust this process? Can I trust her to guide me through this experience? Or should I wait for something that feels a little bit more solid? Guests don't need things to be fancy. They need things to feel organic. Even a simple launch funnel can build trust. This isn't about building some big complicated system. Even a simple launch funnel with clear steps, a solid FAQ, and thoughtful touch points can change the way your audience experiences your launch. It can be as simple as waitlist, registration page, confirmation email, onboarding. When those steps feel clean, when the process feels smooth, your guests feel relaxed. They stop hesitating and they feel confident moving forward. Launch chaos doesn't just cost you sales, it costs you trust. And when you don't have a system, people feel it. And even if you fix the back end later, that trust is already cracked. When you do have a system, people feel supported. They feel like they're in good hands, and that's what moves them from thinking about it to signing up. Now that you know what it takes to really launch a retreat, you're probably thinking, I can't be the only one managing all of this. And you're right, you don't have to. In the next video, I'll show you how to delegate parts of your retreat without losing control, so it feels aligned, supported, and like something you actually want to lead. Check out the next video on your screen right now.